Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting hiking video. I have an insane story to tell you today. It took place actually the day after Labor Day in 2016. And in a nutshell, a ghost saved my life. Yeah, I know. I told you, crazy. A ghost saved my life. I guess I have to tell you the story of how exactly that happened. It's June 2016. And I am on vacation. I'm not really going anywhere special. I'm just gonna do some work at home and then go travel to a few local places and just kind of chill and eat some good food and swim in my little pool for a while and whatever. But on day one, on a Monday, I had to work on my truck. I needed to change the brakes. I had to give it new brake pads and new discs. So it happened to be a hotter than balls day. Like, it was like 4,000 degrees out. And I had no shade in my driveway. And so I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. I mean, I had to do it. They needed to be done. And I didn't want to go anywhere until they were done. So I grab all my tools, I get out there, I take the tires off, and then I cannot get the bolts loose that hold in the brakes. And I have done this before and never had this problem. So I am trying everything I can with leverage and everything, and I am like killing myself. And at some point, without me realizing it, I twisted the muscles in my rib cage. I finished the brakes up, got it done. I was exhausted. My whole body was worn out. So my plan for that day was go to a hiking place that's on the other side of the state, actually, along the ocean. And it's a really cool place. But this place kills me every time I go there, because it is a minimum of a 4-hour hike. And I never even get through the whole place. It is enormous. So I head up there, and I'm going on the hike, and I'm feeling okay. I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's been 4 hours. I am a bit tired, but not as bad as I thought I would be. Now I gotta head back. It's at least a 40-minute drive back to my house. So I arrive home, and I'm just exhausted. And I just want to sit down, drink some coffee. I probably picked up coffee too, so I wasn't even going to make it. I just grabbed it. And just watch some TV. And I sit down, and that's when the pain ran through my body as if someone was stabbing me. I mean, it was horrible. And I felt so uncomfortable, I could not sit down. I'm like, why can't I sit down? So I ended up having to sit or stand up and watch TV. I could not sit down. So by that point, I finished the coffee, and then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to bed. I'm just going to bed. Maybe because all that hiking and all the work on the brakes and everything, I just put my body through too much. So I head off to bed. I wake up the next morning, and I go to cough. And I ended up suffering the most horrific pain I have ever felt in my life. It was so excruciatingly bad that I flat out screamed. Now, I have had injuries before and accidents and nothing bad that was too serious, but never have I screamed. But this was an uncontrollable, loud scream. And that pain was so bad, it shot through my rib cages, all through every muscle in my body, my arms, my fingers, my spine, my head, everything. It was brutal. Brutal. Like, my lungs were filled with fluid. So I don't know what the hell's going on. So I go to the bathroom, and I cough. And some dark-colored blood came out. And I freaked out. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? Did I, break a rib? Am I, a rib's, cutting into my body, into my lungs, into my organs? What did I do? And I became so fearful that I became too afraid to go to a doctor, to go to get medical care. It's really stupid to think that way, and I know it. And I shouldn't think that way. But I truly was nervous about it and couldn't make sense out of what could have happened. So from that point on, whatever this was an issue all summer. Now the pain kind of faded away, but I had this cough and my lungs were always filling up and I was dealing with a constant stuffy nose and all that. Basically like I had a cold that just wouldn't go away. So now we cut to September. And I always take a vacation in June, July, and August. So this is my third vacation of the summer. We had Labor Day, and it was now Tuesday, and I'm getting ready to go back to work, and I am feeling horrible. Absolutely horrible. I am coughing constantly. It's like I have the flu, but it wasn't really the flu. I don't know what the hell it is. And I am so bad on this day that I'm like, you know what? I have to go to the medical center. I got to get this checked out. All right, so I sit down now. I'm watching a program on the TV, just taking it easy. But the problem is that from all the coughing, my throat was so raw that every single time I coughed, I would throw up. So even if there was nothing that could come out, so I knew that I'd have to head to the bathroom. So I was doing everything in my power not to cough. And finally, I just couldn't. I couldn't stop it anymore. The other thing, too, that was happening is, let's go back to June, when I had that issue with my ribs. Every time I would cough, I would have that pain. So what I would do, and this is going to sound odd, I would turn my body and twist it, and then grab onto a chair or something, and then cough. Because what would happen is the pain would get evenly distributed throughout my body. But if I didn't do that, it would shoot through my body in just horrific pain. Like pain that I cannot explain. Really, it felt like Freddy Krueger jumped in my body and just started cutting me up. That kind of pain. So, once again, I had a cough. So I'm like, all right, here we go. So I stand up. And I cover my mouth and I start headed towards the bathroom. And suddenly I didn't make it. Suddenly I am waking up. I'm not where I was. And I'm confused. Because I'm laying on something. And I don't know where I am, and I don't know how I got there, and I'm looking around and I can't figure it out. And I'm looking down at what is the floor, and then I start to realize, wait a minute. I'm on the floor? Why am I on the floor? Did I choose to sleep here? But I don't remember sleeping or choosing to sleep on the floor, and why would I sleep on the floor? And all these thoughts are running through my head at lightning speed. And I look up and realize that I'm in my dining room, on the floor, right next to the table. And then something happened to me. And it's very hard to describe. But I felt no pain. Nothing. Not one pain, not one itch, nothing. I felt nothing but perfectness, if that's even a word. I don't think it is. Just perfect. Like the most relaxed I've ever felt in my life. My body felt good. The energy was good. Everything felt so amazing. I wasn't feeling sick. Nothing. Just perfect. As perfect as you could possibly feel. And then suddenly, life started coming back to me. And that was like hell. Like, everything started coming back to life. And these weird feelings were going through my body. This weird energy. And these thoughts were going through my head. And I couldn't actually speak. And all I could do was like, ah. And it was like this feeling of dread and horror and sadness and misery and hell. And like all these emotions. And they're all going through me, and it didn't make sense. And finally, I'm back to me again. And so that's when I get up, and I look around. I'm like, how the hell did I get here? And I was like 12 feet away from where I was when I coughed. It didn't make sense. But here's the thing, too. I was watching TV, and what I was watching on TV was only about 30 seconds later. So there wasn't that much time. And when I say 30 seconds later, that includes the time that I was on the floor trying to figure out how I got there. So somehow, within just a few seconds, I went from standing in this one spot to being on the floor all the way over here. And I couldn't make sense out of it. All I knew was that somehow, when I coughed, I completely blacked out. But how did I go from where I was to the table? How did I get there? And here's the thing. There was a wood stove, a cast iron wood stove right near me. There was that hard maple wood table. And yet I smashed into nothing. I collapsed, but somehow ended up in another room, laid on the floor, perfectly between the chairs and the table, and somehow missed smashing into the wood stove. How? Even if I lost my memory, why would I go to the kitchen? I was rushing to the bathroom, and I kept thinking about the feelings I had. There was energy in me that made me feel so good, so perfect, where I didn't feel any sickness, I didn't feel any pain, I didn't feel anything but perfect. The energy in me was so pure and amazing. And I had no explanation for it. I didn't know what it was. And then suddenly when it was like I was coming back to life and the energy was horrible. It just felt horrible. It was, I guess the word I had described at the time was desperation. But over time, the more I thought about it, the conclusion I came up with was I saved by a ghost? Was I saved by an angel? What was there? Did something grab me as I started to collapse to the floor and pick me up and carry me over to the floor where the table was and lay me out there? Because there's no explanation for it. None. I knew right then and there I was absolutely going to the medical facility. However, I was too afraid to drive at that point in time, and I didn't want to call an ambulance. So I wanted to calm myself down. Once I did that, then I would go. But I didn't make it. I coughed again while I was sitting on the couch and blacked out. But this time, I fell straight down and hit my head on a rug, and actually got rug burn on my forehead. And then I came to as normal. And none of that other stuff happened. I was completely aware I blacked out. It was only a couple seconds. I woke up from the floor and had the mark on my head. And those feelings didn't happen. It only happened the first time. And I fell where I blacked out. So the next day, that morning, I did go off to the medical facility, which was actually right up the street from me. And I got tested, and I was stunned by what the problem was. I was fearing the worst. And the doctor said, yeah, you have a bad case of allergies. What's happening is you have developed post-nasal drip, and that is irritating your throat, and your throat doesn't have a chance to recover, and that is causing you to cough, which has actually caused your throat to bleed, and is the reason why you're throwing up every time you cough. And that's really all it is. And so she gave me a cough suppressant and some allergy pills and said soon I should recover. And sure enough, and a week later, it was like nothing had ever happened. I was fully recovered. It just was so crazy to me that this was all because of allergies. And I still believe that I probably twisted the muscles around my rib cage, and that's why I had that kind of pain. The allergies and the combination of that just made things worse. I had an answer. But I never did get an answer for what happened that time I blacked out. Was I really carried by a ghost or an angel? I guess I'll never know. shameless plug. That's right, it's time for a shameless plug, where I plug something of mine shamelessly. And today, I'm going to promote MikeBurkePhotography.com. Many times when I'm out here on the trails, you'll find me with my camera, snapping away. I love photography, and I have created a website where I sell prints of the many images I have taken over the years. If you're looking for the most perfect, beautiful landscape image, an image of the ocean, of the sunset, of autumn or winter, check out MikeBurkePhotography.com for that most perfect image to hang in your living room. You'll also find plenty of options. You can get it as a print, canvas, a metal print. Check it out today, MikeBurkePhotography.com. And that is the end of my shameless plug. Now, back to the video.